Speaking of, so we talked about this a little bit last week, but you mentioned Germany. You played abroad. What were your experiences like in Germany and anywhere else that you've played in terms of racial inequality or how you were treated or just living in the country in general? Because you are a man of the world, so.
Yeah. I try to still brush up on my my German and my I still speak Spanish pretty fluently, but Germany was an education for me because it was the first place I lived outside of America, as the first European place I ever visited, and it was great for that to be my first place because of the history of Germany. I played for a team, TVB Trier, Germany. And I remember in my condo, there was a 80-year-old woman named Mrs. Moorbach. I remember one day she knocked on my door. I know because I was a loner, I stayed by myself, I didn't really know so many people. She knocked on my door one day with tea and strudel. And she's like, do you mind if I practice my English with you? And I was like, as long as you don't mind if I practice my German with you. So here you have this 6'8" black guy, right? I'm using descriptors, and it's like 80-year-old, like 4'2" German woman, and we would have coffee and strudel like every other day, and I would practice my German, and she would practice speaking English with me. And then she would teach me about the history and teach me about World War I, World War II, and how it was for them. Because all I've ever known was our perspective. I never knew what it was like for them. And what was fascinating to me being there too was like, coming after World War II, and the fact that they denounced Nazis, like it's in every book, one day, they denounce it. Like it was such a stark difference to what it was like in the States, where, and obviously we're having these conversations now about monuments, for the Confederacy and things of that nature. Like there was like, no, they vehemently just denounce it 1,000% over there. And I was just like, wow, that's amazing that you had this major movement happen there, and they're just like, no, we're done. Like this is not happening ever again, So it was. I was so happy that was the first place I played. But as far as you mentioned also, did I ever have any racial issues happen overseas? And I don't necessarily will call it like a racial issue. I just think it more as a function of people not used to seeing Black people. Like, for example, Germany was very cool because it's very diverse where I was. But when I was in Finland, the town I was in, I remember myself and Syracuse basketball player by the name of Clef Delaney. Obviously both of us were darker skinned guys, and people would look at us like we were like aliens, like, oh my God. And I don't think it was from a racism standpoint. It was just like they never see Black people, like period. And then at that giant ones, right? So it was like it was just new for them,
Yeah, if you get a chance, I told a story about, so I played in Finland, and that was my first, if you want to call it racial encounter. I played at Joensuu, which is as north as it gets. Like it's up by like Santa Park, so it's way up there. And I was even telling these guys, like, I don't think, in hindsight, I don't think the guy was being racist. I just think he was ignorant on how Americans view race. So when he told me, he walked up to me like, yo, what's up, my nigga? And I'm like, no, like, yeah. But like in hindsight, I got really upset and it got physical. But in hindsight, like, I'm like, he wasn't being racist. He just didn't know any better.
No,
it's different where they are.
Yeah. I'll say that was the same situation that kind of happened with me. It's my first time in China. I arrive. I'm in the car with them. So they're serious listening. So so we're in the car. We're driving. All of a sudden, I just hear Nega, 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 nega. And like literally, I'm like, man, what the fuck are y'all talking about right now? Y'all could take me back to the airport. Like, this is some bullshit. Like, I was in full rage.
Wait, can I spoil this one? Because my girlfriend is from China. They were just saying what?
They're just saying, yeah. So they're like, they get so red and they're like, no, 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 it doesn't mean that.
I had the same reaction the first time. I was like,
because it just rolls up. It just rolls. It's nega, nega, nega. And it's like, yo, I'm standing right here, bro. Like, y'all really being disrespectful like this? Like we about to get down. Just like, no, just means we're just thinking, so I definitely, yeah, some things, it's just weird, but it's just like, how is that nega? To me, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm coming from a place where it's been so much hate, so much war in between, us being different from everybody else. And to them, it's something totally different.
Yeah, yeah. There's a I'm blanking on who said it, but there's a code I live by, actually. It's called seek to understand, then to be understood, right? So you seek to understand. So in your case, right, you didn't understand that nega means right?
No.
So your first thing is you're understanding your pain from that word, the way it's said in America, but you didn't understand them as that, no, that's not what it means here. Right? And I think that's actually the reason why I've been having a lot of conversations as of late as it pertains to race, is that, like, the fact of the matter is that you need to have these conversations, because if you don't have these conversations, you're not going to know.
Yeah.